So it would be nice if those who don't speak can mute themselves. And I think it's time we can start already with those who joined. Just for agenda for tonight, we're going to have some introductions from the organizers of this of the Circular City Challenge. Then we also have some time for guest inputs today, which will be done by our McCartan Foundation and then our speaker from Circular Economy. And then we want to dive in more to the Circular City Challenge itself. What are the challenges and who are the how to apply, why you should apply. Then we'll have final round of the questions where you will, I mean, if something until then will be not answered, you will definitely have a chance to discuss it with us and to proceed. Like, hopefully it will be clear for you how you can proceed further. And we hope we're going to finish everything by 8 o'clock. So please stay with us. The event will be also recorded because we had quite a lot of Somebody is also speaking parallel with me. Maybe someone who is monitoring it could also check that people are muted. So please talk when we don't have a presentation, so it will be nice. I hope this event will serve basically for you to provide more information about Circular City Challenge and how it's organized. In this case, we start with a little introduction of 4 organizations who are behind the Circular City Challenge in terms of organizing it. And I will start maybe with some words from my side, as my name is Dina Padalkina and I'm representing Circular Berlin. Circular Berlin is a local NGO in Berlin which dedicates its work towards circular economy in the city. And we are one of the organizers and initiators of this work or project in Berlin, and also collected the partners for Berlin and also developing the concept for circular economy in the city. We do it among 3 more dimensions. One of them is knowledge building, development of specific projects around such sectors as built environment, food, textile, and product and materials. Then we also work with a community building. That's why we are very excited to see all of you around there, because I think it's also a lot of opportunities for exchange and education. And today we are one of the 4 organizers of Circular City Challenge, and I want to give further words to Circular München.
Yeah, hello also from my side. I'm Andrea. I'm here tonight together with Paula. We're part of Circular Munich. We're actually driving the circular transition of Munich, so also on the city level. We're also super happy to be part of this project because we see this huge potential of, on the one hand, focusing on cities and the circular potentials of cities, but also looking into the synergies so we can create across cities. And yeah, this is a quite exciting project in this perspective, looking into this potential of matching solutions, innovative circular solutions with city partners across 4 cities. And therefore, yeah, we're happy to have you tonight. And we're really curious about your solutions and what you hopefully will hand in the course of the next days and weeks. Yeah, we're happy to match you, hopefully, with the city partners. And with that, I give to Vienna, to Wien, to Andreas.
Hello from Vienna. So yeah, thanks for the introduction. I'm Andreas. I'm from Circonnect. We are hosting the Circular Vienna community and are also helping the people to connect more to nature. And our idea is to enforce a regenerative circular economy, so a regenerative world where circular economy, of course, is a very important basis. And we want to connect the people within the city as well as connect with other organizations outside. And that's a great opportunity here. And it's very great also to work together with Circular Berlin, Circular Munich, and Materialkreislauf on that. So we really look at that connection because I think we have a lot of solutions already in the world for circular economy, but we don't have it in our city, or also for the other cities. I think that's the same. So it's great to have that opportunity to learn more about your ideas and how we can implement them locally. And with that, I'll pass on to Christoph.
Yeah, hello from my side also. This is Christoph from Materialkreislauf, based in Stuttgart. It feels a little bit like the Eurovision Song Contest tonight, although it's only German-speaking participants. With Materialkreislauf, we are a do and think tank engaged in turning the economy towards more circularity, and we are happy hosts of what is happening in Stuttgart, where circular economy is just taking on speed, and we're really happy to have the city of Stuttgart participating in this Circular City Challenge. There has been said quite a lot about the circular economy, and there will be even more to come from circular economy and Ellen MacArthur Foundation, so I don't want to stress that topic too much, but it's really, really good to see how the cross exchange between the cities we have already started at the beginning of this month is evolving and bringing the agenda forward, and the people, the actors in the cities closer together. That's really impressive to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing quite some more of that over the next weeks and months. So back to you, Dina.
Thank you so much. Now you got a little bit of more overview who are the organizations behind Circular City Challenge, but there's much more coming on organizations, so to say. Maybe some words about why we decided to do Circular City Challenge. Obviously, it's because we want to create a circular economy in the cities. And that's why we have this strong partnership on 4 entities right now, where we have similar vision towards the topic of circularity in the cities. And we want to have a matching existing circular solutions with city partners, the city stakeholders. And already there, we start collecting their needs, and that's where we want to dive in today further. As you already got the impression that we right now 4 cities in total who will participate in this Circular City Challenge, is Berlin, München, Stuttgart, and Vienna. And that's where we will right now start with this first time ever in Germany and Austria project done together in this collaboration to find local solutions, and also to see how it could be maybe cross-exchange between different locations. The potentials here we see for both sides, for city partners and also for you as applicants. On the one hand, we do think that a topic of circular economy could be more present. It is very present and relevant right now for our jury, but it also gives them opportunity to explore the topic deeper, to understand deeper, and to see more inspiration, to find more inspiration from you, from the solutions which are already out there. And also, of course, it's a good learning opportunity and exchange opportunity for our city partners to be engaged with other locations, so that we are not seeing that only in one bubble of one location, but actually can see how maybe another location is implemented. For you as applicants, we do think it's also could be very profitable in one case to demonstrate these solutions, because we have more than 20 diverse urban actors who are already part of the jury and across 4 locations. So it's already quite spread network where directly you can place your solution. Also, it's possible to understand better the current needs and concerns of the city partners from our conversation that we will also discuss today. And also, we hope that after that, we aim for the best matches where the implementation can happen between our city partners or jury and you. And that's where we also hope that there will be next step after City Challenge toward this implementation, and there will be diverse partner network who can also further support you on that. That's where we're going to see beyond that, but it's the most important right now to find these matches and see what are the solutions out there. Now I would like to hand over to more inputs, and we have today 2 input sessions, one from Joshua from Ellen MacArthur Foundation, because this type of challenges were already done before, and we also want to see how maybe we can learn from others who already done that, and how we can understand better the topic of circular economy in the city. Joshua, maybe now the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Dina. It's really great to be here, and on behalf of the foundation, we're really pleased to be a promotional partner for this challenge. I think based on the contribution before, I'm from London, so it's nice that as a member from the UK that we're going first. So if it was Eurovision, we're not finishing last as we usually do. But yeah, so what I'll do, I will hopefully provide some context around the role of circular economy in cities. But maybe if I just start, so for those who aren't familiar with the foundation, we're a network of over 2,000 organizations around the world, large businesses, innovators, cities, academics and universities. And our job is to develop and promote the idea of a circular economy. The transition to a circular economy, we can't get to through, I guess, existing approaches and business as usual. We need to change the system and approach, find new solutions and take a holistic approach to a lot of the problems that we have. Does this work? There we go. So just to recap as well, it's always important. I say the word circular economy maybe 20, 30 times a day. And sometimes I take for granted that others aren't always in the loop as much as I am. But at the foundation, we define the circular economy based on 3 principles, all of which are driven by design, on the basis that a lot of the negative externalities that exist in our current system are not through there by accident, they're there by choice, and that we can design our way into creating a better system. The 3 principles that we look at are around eliminating waste and pollution, keeping products and materials in use for as long as possible. So that's around sharing, repairing, remanufacturing, making sure that we keep things in loop as at their highest value for as long as possible and avoid cascading. And when we must, we cascade down. And then finally about regenerating nature. It was great to hear the words regenerate already. Often that's taken for granted in the circular economy. We often think about circular economy from a waste perspective first, but it's always important to think about that we need our system to be regenerative as well. So rather than creating products, taking things out the ground, making them and returning them to the world as waste, we're actually returning things back to the world as nutrients for the planet, as food for the planet. So these are our 3 high-level principles. And the reason why we're interested in cities is because a lot of those resources across the system end up in cities. Cities are a place of creativity, of innovation, of learning, but they're also where we have a lot of resources end up. Over half of waste in the world ends up in cities. Over 75% of resources are consumed in cities. And we know that cities are also responsible for a majority of greenhouse gases, not necessarily the direct source, but through consumption-based emissions, they are. And it's not only a problem now, but it will increasingly become a problem. Cities have the potential to be currently the source, but they can be the solution. And as populations in cities continue to grow, 2/3 of us will live in cities by 2050. Cities have the potential need, in fact, to lead the transition to a circular economy. I also just want to emphasize this. This is our work from 2019 called Completing the Picture, which highlighted the need for a circular economy in meeting climate goals. We often stress this to cities and other innovators that we often focus on retrofit and renewable energy and energy efficiency, but that only tells half the story. We can't get to net zero, however we define it, through renewables alone. We need to think about how we make and use products. And by applying our 3 principles to 5 materials, cotton, food, steel, cement, and aluminium, we've identified that we can halve the associated emissions from 45% to 25%. And so the role of circular economy, therefore, is really crucial. Now, going back to cities, our vision for a city that's livable and more resilient and regenerative is based on 3 urban systems that all interplay. their buildings, their mobility, and their products. And we need to think about how to make them smarter and flow around better, using design principles and technology to make sure that we can keep things going around the system as efficiently and smart as possible. And then on the other side, we have our 10 levers. These are policy levers that cities and city actors and change agents within cities can pull. It's not just city administrations, it can be other organizations. We talk around setting a vision and setting a strategy. We talk around engagement and convening and partnering, awareness raising. And these, I guess, are examples of what the City Circular Challenge is here. We're trying to engage and identify and showcase solutions that are there already. We need to think about how we plan and design our cities. So urban planning, asset management, and public procurement are all super important. Cities have a huge demand power and can affect how businesses and demand is shaped through the money that you spend. And then finally, cities also have a role in economic incentives and regulation. These are often the purview of national governments, but cities have a role to test and trial some of these things, but also advocate for national governments. And this is often where a lot of businesses are. And so there's a role for businesses and cities to come together and identify those regulatory changes that need to happen. So Dina asked me also to talk about a couple of tangible examples, as I appreciate that this is very high level. So I have a couple more minutes. So I'll just talk through three of my favorite examples and why they're relevant and why they use a lot of these policy levers that we talk about, or change levers. So the first is the materials marketplace in Austin that was developed a couple of years ago now, but they basically identified that building waste is the highest source of waste and a huge source of emissions, and that there was a complete lack of coordination among all the developers in the city. So they set up an online platform to bring together actors in different sectors to identify byproducts, things that were surplus after either the building had finished or the end of their catering, the end of the night for the food, and created this platform for organizations to source things that would otherwise go to waste, perfectly good virgin materials that were just surplus to requirements. By simply just creating a convening role and a digital solution for people to share this, they've created a platform where, and again, it's only a couple of hundred users in the city use it and a couple of trades a month, but through doing that alone, they've created a huge amount of diversion from landfill and energy from waste, and also saved a huge amount of emissions that would have been associated with those virgin materials. So 950 million tons of carbon equivalent. I think that is enough to fuel millions of homes in the US in 1 year alone. So that's one example in the US. And then Milan, who is we're proud to say is a partner city of the foundation. They won, you may recall, they won the Earthshot Prize this year to create a zero waste-free world. And the foundation was pleased to profile and support the project that they set up in 2015. So this is around a whole package of policies that the city set up, but it involved engaging with a lot of local actors. So they realized that to support the local economy, they need to give money to actors in the local economy. And that was around using procurement and sourcing food for their schools with farms in the local area. I think there's 100 farms and 800 orchards or something in Milan. And now they work with all of those rather than relying on long supply chains. And so food comes from the farms around there, creating wealth and community wealth building in the city. They also redevelop degraded land to regenerate it and use it as an agroecological test site. And they've also the main focus of the Earthshot Prize, which is fairly downstream for how the foundation look at things, but they created waste hubs to simply redistribute all the food that was never purchased in shops and canteens and help divert 260,000 meals a year. And the final example I have is one of my favorites. This is Venlo. So I've shared some examples, I guess, of collaborative projects of cities convening and engaging and using digital technology. This is an example, another one in the built environment of just simply planning and design. In Venlo, they developed a building using design for disassembly. So all of the different components of the building can be pulled out of the building again when if the building needs to change its purpose. They created a green wall around the building, which has improved air quality within the local radius. And the thing that I really like about this is that they've designed for disassembly, and so the components can be pulled apart, but they've developed a materials bank for each of those components. So those components have an embodied value, and that they were able to fund the building by using that bank and identifying, leveraging the cost and the value of the actual materials, so that if they run out of money, they can sell parts of the building, which I think is amazing. So yeah, these are 3 examples that hopefully illustrate some of the challenges and solutions that exist already in cities around the world. We'll be really keen to see who the winners are and some of the applicants of this project, so that we could maybe look to showcase as well and promote. I'll finally just leave to end that for both cities and innovators here, we have a whole suite of online resources aimed at cities and the challenges, as well as lots of other guides. And I just encourage you to visit the website or get in touch, and I'd happily connect you. But yeah, thanks for that. Dina, is that okay?
Yes, that's great. Thanks you so much. And thanks for being really in time. It's amazing.
No, I need to figure out how to stop sharing.
While you figure out to stop sharing, we continue our Eurovision contest, because now we go to Amsterdam.
Correct. Thanks, Dina. And thanks, Josh, for the great presentation. All right, I think I can start sharing. Well, first of all, thanks so much for having us, Dina, and all the organizers. I believe this is a great initiative, and I'm sure plenty of solutions will help the cities overcome many of the challenges that will be defined along this process. And I will basically, to complement what Josh presented from Ellen MacArthur Foundation point of view, with whom we collaborate in many fronts, is our perspective from circular economy, from Amsterdam indeed, on the circular economy application in cities. And for those of you that don't know us, Circular Economy, we are an NGO, a foundation based in Amsterdam, with an international team of passionate experts based in Amsterdam, as I said. And we basically focus on empowering businesses, cities, and nations with practical and scalable solutions to put the circular economy into action. And our vision is on creating an economic system that ensures the planet and all people can thrive. And our main goal is to double circularity by 2032. But as I said here, we want to focus on cities, and our work with cities focuses on what we call the Circle City Scan, which is a type of service that we do with cities around Europe and the world in supporting them in transitioning towards a circular economy. Because as Josh said, and I won't repeat a lot of the arguments, cities are really where a lot of the action happens. And we help them building roadmaps to realize circular economy projects and strategies to close the circularity gap, as I mentioned before. Because most of the impact happens in cities, you already know that, in terms of global resources use, in terms of energy use, in terms of GDP and economic value creation, but also in terms of population. So a lot of the impact that's happening around the world is driven by consumption and activity happening in cities. And we really see the circular economy as having the potential to provide a lot of solutions from an economic, social, and environmental point of view. And here you can see some of the benefits that we see from better air quality, reduction of resource use, but also reduction of CO2 emissions. as Josh mentioned, for instance, by tackling consumption-based emissions. And at Circular Economy, we focus on translating data into decisions to really empower local stakeholders at the city level, the public sector, but also the private sector in really taking decisions based on this evidence and really focusing on analyzing urban metabolism. And we always do that by working with all the stakeholders in a city, trying to invite the public sector, but also the private sector, academia, the civil society to go into a process where we can all together create a vision towards a circular economy and really provide evidence that can inform them to make decisions, as I said, but also to make common decisions that really involve all the different parts and stakeholders in the city. We have followed this process with over 39 cities since 2015, and here are some examples. And lately, for instance, working with the City of London in developing some work around consumption-based emissions for the food sector, and really, seeing how the circular economy can help them overcome the challenges they have in terms of climate, but also working with cities in Switzerland, in the Netherlands, and in France, in Spain, and many other geographies. And the scan basically follows a logic of 4 phases. In the first phase, we focus on the socio-economic analysis of the city. In the second one, we go into the analysis of the material flows of the city and some key indicators. Then we jump into the circular strategies. So how can we start taking action and who does what? And then really defining the action plan towards action. In the first phase of the scan, we really try to bring together all the stakeholders, as I mentioned before, and try to get a common understanding of the current state of circular economy in the city. Then in the second phase, we create the evidence base based on analysis, material flows, indicators, on what's exactly the challenges and opportunities in the different sectors that we want to focus on. Then in the third phase, as I said, we develop the strategies based on the opportunities that we have identified. And then lastly, we start defining the action plans towards action. And this is, it's a lot of text in this slide, but basically what I want to share here is that in every city we work with, there are different angles we can take, and in the different phases that I just mentioned, we follow a similar logic, but it can have different flavors. So this is just to show the different possibilities that we can follow towards creating action around circular economy in a city. And I will walk you through a bit the logic that we follow here, and just give you some examples as well. Okay. So in the first phase, the socio-economic analysis, we want to understand where do we want to focus our energy? What sectors are the most important for the city from different perspectives? So we really try to get a full understanding of the different sectors and really understand what's the economic value, environmental impact, and also social relevance in terms of jobs. And we really try to map all of that for the different sectors of the city. But also what's very important is to understand the political ambitions. It's not only about the sectors, but also about the policies and regulations that are already being set. What we also do is we can understand how's the job market related to circular economy, and what's the current state of circular jobs, because this is a lot of the value that can be created through the circular economy relates to the labor market and jobs. So how many jobs can we create for the circular economy, and how many circular jobs are currently in your city? That's something that we can also understand and analyze in the first phase. And then lastly, what we also try to understand in phase 1 is what is already happening in the city, what is already happening in your city, and what initiatives are already being developed, so that we can build upon where all the energy that is already happening, and we are not reinventing the wheel. And all of that we bring it into a workshop. In every phase we do a workshop where we really try to bring together all the stakeholders around the table, as I mentioned before, to really present all this information and get a common understanding of what's the current state of circularity and where we should focus our energy. And then in the second phase, as I mentioned, we focus on the resource metabolism of the city. We want to understand what's the urban metabolism of the city in some key specific sectors, or the city as a whole. It really depends on where the focus and scope we want to give to the study. Here is an example from Prague, for instance, in the construction sector, where we really tried to map all the resource metabolism of the construction sector for Prague, looking at the inputs, outputs, how waste is being processed, and where are the opportunities for circularity to really improve the circularity performance of this sector. What we can also do is to look at indicators and metrics, which I believe is something super important for the project and initiative around challenges. So what are the challenges we have, and what indicators we should look at to then track how these solutions that are being thought and implemented can help improve this situation. So indicators and metrics are very important to understand how to move forward and where we stand. Once we have identified all this, we look into the circular strategies. So we know what's the current state, we know where the challenges are, we know where the opportunities are. So how can we move forward? And here, same nature as the project that all the partners are following in this initiative is how can for instance, the private sector support the city to overcome a lot of these challenges. Here are just some examples from Prague, again, on how some very specific opportunities around, for instance, online secondary materials marketplace. I believe the case from Austin that Josh presented is in line with this, cycling sludge as construction material, circular tendering. How can we create business innovation that can support cities to overcome its challenges? So that's some strategies that we can follow. And then we can also see how this affects the system that we are looking at and how are we closing the loops.
Jordi, sorry to interrupt you, but you have 1 minute left.
Perfect. Yeah, so good. And in this third phase, we can also look at how policymakers can take action. So how policy instruments can apply in these different scenarios. And then finally, based on all this and developing these strategies, we go into the action planning, and we really try to define how to move forward, either through business innovation, as we can show here through circular tendering, policy interventions, and then finally road mapping. How can we move forward and define circular roadmaps for the city that we work with? And just to wrap it up, since 2015, we have worked, as I said, with more than 39 cities, helping to define the circular economy roadmaps and implement over 200 circular pilot projects. So really, following a very similar logic as the one you will follow in the coming months, in really identifying the challenges that are happening in the cities and how we can come up with solutions to help cities overcoming these challenges. And that's it from my side. I hope this was inspiring to some of the solution providers and cities. Thanks so much, Dina.
Thanks, Jordi, as well from my side. And I think it's very interesting to see how many cities are actually interested in the circular economy solutions. So it's great to see that it's actually already global movement, basically. And I hope that our 4 locations will also be able to catch up on the global movement one at a time. So there is already quite vivid discussion in chat. So far, we still have Jordi and Josh with us. So if you still have questions, maybe keep writing them in chat, because maybe they will not stay until the very end. But in any case, now is the time when we dive into Circular City Challenge specifically and more directly. And also, if you have some questions already popping up while presentation, feel free to ask them directly in the chat. We will return to them in the Q&A session as well. And Andrea, now the floor is yours.
Great. Yeah, I would say let's jump into it and have a look at, I guess, one of the most important parts for all of you, the topics we want to focus on within the challenge. And I guess you've all seen this high-level descriptions or headlines. But for now, today, we will really take the time to dive deeper into each of them. So hopefully, if there are any question marks still in your heads around those questions, I hope we can clarify them. Yeah, and as you can see, like it's those 4: resource management, digital technologies, system infrastructure, and consumption and awareness. And yeah, I would say let's jump into them. And maybe as a basic explanation, what we did here is, on the one hand, we talked, of course, to all of our city partners. So we really heard a lot from them, what their challenges are, what their problems are. So we tried to summarize some of them, not all of them, but exemplary. We took some of them out of it and put it here as problems, and we matched it to the descriptions of the challenges. So hopefully this will help you get a better feeling of what our partners are looking for, and of course, a good feeling for you to decide on, can you match it? Is your solution somehow, yeah, a good addition to those problems and challenges? And with that, I would say, let's jump into resource management.
Yes, so we'll have a look at resource management. I think the right side, everyone, or most probably everyone, has already seen. So that's basically what we put down as standard topics regarding resource management. And then, well, I made it easy for me. So I looked at some challenges in Vienna, which are related to resource management. And of course, our partners are not, most of the time, it's not just one aspect they are looking to. So sometimes it's a bit mixed, but here are some examples where you may look at, and we will provide them in a little bit more detail and more information also on the website, so you can read a little bit more also about the challenges from the other cities. So here, for resource management, one problem is the lack of local resource exchange in the communities, and we've seen parts of the topics already in the presentations from Josh and Hori. So yeah, there are solutions out there. The problem here is in our district is that the complexity of transaction and the lack of visibility where available resources are prevents that they are passed on. And one other in a district, one other topic is that there is still a lot of food waste, where it's not enough use of local food and it's discarded. So that also is some very, let's say that's some organic producers or even unpacked stores, they still have leftovers, and the question is what to do with them. How can we deal with it? How can we avoid throwing food away? Another topic from another organization is from our, also from a district, is what happens to products and materials from local shops which are not sold. So that's a question which came up. So there may be sometimes they are passed on to some charity, but there's a lot more. And of course, the question is how to bring the local producers together, how to find solutions. And another challenge was from developers. So they are developing housing and living, and they want to have a guidance and vision to ensure that all partners who will be there in the complex are really focusing on circular procurement and waste management, and in a good way, really thinking about the resources and how to handle resources in the entire complex. So these are examples for resource management, and let's move to system infrastructure, where we also on the right side, I think that's just the things you have read or you can read again. So here I took two examples we're having. So one is from an old farm complex with 13 buildings, which is currently being rebuilt to be, really to showcase urban agriculture and a lot of connections of the different partners and a circular solution as a city center. So their challenge is that really they have a construction, but how can circularity be included into the already planned construction project and the infrastructure? So they are looking also on how to bring together the different partners, there on how to simulate, how to prototype without being able to build the entire, or to showcase basically the entire solution. So how can all the circular flows be mapped, identify symbiosis up front, and on the other side, how to integrate the shared services for citizens into this infrastructure so that people get there and can use it. And another example is from the city of Vienna, also from the development from the city of Vienna, is they need new concepts for underused spaces, like buildings, for example, or office spaces for and when they are newly developing spaces. So how can circular solutions be integrated? What are different ways to redesign buildings also to become barrier free, which is an important thing which hasn't been there in previous buildings, or to fulfill the actual requirements for construction. Also thinking about what happens to the materials right now and how can we reuse them, how can we pass them on. So these are two examples from Vienna, and I'm passing on to...
Maybe to briefly to mention, it's not only from Vienna, because the alignment from other locations also comes together with the same topics. For example, growing construction is an issue. So there are obviously not only Vienna, which is present in these descriptions. But next one.
I explained the ones I know best.
Yes, I thought so.
Yeah, digital technologies, of course, that's also a huge field, talking about platforms, about product as a service solutions, of course, also take back systems, but of course, also those questions of transparency. Can we raise transparency by applying digital methods? And one of the topics that's definitely also in our focus is about connecting urban and rural implementations through digital approaches. So that's kind of the right side. And some of the really concrete challenges our partners have are around product as a service and also sharing options. And here really the question came up, well, that's really cool that a lot of those sharing solutions are implemented in the city centers where all the young and cool people are living, but how can this really be transferred to more outer areas or even to rural areas? So if there is something, you have some ideas on that, I think there are some partners who are really interested in becoming more circular, but are maybe not located in the city centers. And the second part is around quality management. So how can digital communication somehow help to visualize or track the flow of goods? Maybe also give some suitable environmental indicators in order to really have a basis for quality management. So what is the right thing to do and how to track it? That's kind of the question, and therefore some digital solutions for documentation and tracking would be really helpful to our partners.
Yeah, thanks, Andrea. And we jump on the last topic, consumption and awareness. It actually also raises from here because, as you might notice, we have full location and it's not heavy production-oriented cities. It's mainly cities where consumption happens. So there's also challenges around this area evolves, and also how we can include citizens into the process. So on the right side, what we look for solutions in the broader sense, it's about engaging consumers in the topic of circularity, because on the one hand, it's still not known topic for most of the consumers. And there is also the question how they could be engaged and get more information toward this direction. There's also circular living solutions for citizens, which can strive neighborhoods and enable local actions towards grassroots circularity. Also on solutions where we want to find more solutions towards focuses on behavioral change among consumers, that they can actually strive for sustainable choices. And also what we also had several discussions with different partners, it's the questions around maybe schools and municipalities, where the circular operation can also be involved toward these dimensions. And on the concrete problem discussions, which we already had a chance to pick up, is of course the growing amount of household waste is there in the cities, and also bulky waste, or so to say in German Sperrmüll, is a key topic. So how, which quite often ends on the street, how we can address that through these approaches to solve it. Also, the topic of packaging waste and littering, which happens on the street or especially in the public spaces, how this could be addressed for our partners through the solution approaches maybe. And in general, lack of involvement, I think it also goes together with specific solutions ideas which we communicated already. So how the citizens could be more involved into resource exchange and the topic itself. This is kind of the problem statement which we so far were able to collect, and that's somewhere where we're going to also look after more specifically. This is more on topics area. Now I think we're going to go into the process and how, who, and when. And Christoph.
Yes. So you're probably quite familiar, meanwhile, with the participating cities, Vienna, Berlin, Munich, and Stuttgart. You have heard about the challenge areas and some concrete examples for challenges themselves. But now you might wonder who really is participating. We have city partners that are not just 4 cities, but a more diverse area of participants. Round about 20, a little above 20 partners, also being part of the jury that finally selects the winning solutions. And interesting for you might be to know that it's not only, Andrea already talked about the vibrant city centers versus the more remote areas at the city brims. We not only have communities as such, but we also have more local partners, even communities outside of metropolitan areas at the brims, for example, of Munich. So it's either, it's it's the cities themselves, but also smaller partners. It's initiatives and also local authorities. And altogether they form about around 20, a batch of 20 jury partners, participating city partners. And if we go to the next slide, you will see we also have quite some, almost 20, we call them promotional partners, that help us take the word out, ranging from the city of Berlin and some administrative bodies there, to the Impact Hub community. TUM, which is very known in Germany, stands for TU München, Technical University of Munich. And they are very active in the field of the circular economy, but also Community Kitchen, for example, which again is from Munich, but it's just by coincidence that takes care of excess food and makes meals out of excess food. So also a wide array of promotional partners, and you probably will have come across the Circular City Challenge via one of these, either municipal partners or promotional partners. That's how we try to get the word out to those who will deliver solutions and proposals for solutions. Next slide. And Andrea, will you take over now, or shall I do those next 2 slides? I think
I can take over.
Yeah, take over.
So the interesting question right now, who can apply? And I think that's something that you can all ask. And I think we have defined a quite broad range of possibilities who can apply, because we really want to emphasize, we're really looking for good solutions, and it does not really matter if you're a company, if you're a group of organizations doing a project together, if you're from the research related context, or maybe even an NGO or nonprofit. So that's really a broad range. We all invite you to apply in case you're working on a solution that is fulfilling the criteria here on the right side. So in the best case, you already have at least an implementation concept. So what we decided on, or what we would like to see, is something that is a little more than just an idea. So there should be a little more to it. It should be a concrete concept. You should be able to clearly describe what you want to reach with your solution, or you already have a first MVP, minimum viable product. That would be amazing, or even a working prototype or a solution that is already at scale. So that's kind of the options. But as I said, like the minimum requirement would be to have an implementation concept that is somehow really explaining how you want to approach a solution and what you already are doing. Exactly. And if we hop to the next slide, maybe that's also interesting. Like, why should you apply? What's your plus that you could get out of it? First of all, we're looking to find solutions that really can be further implemented and elaborated together with our city partners. So we're really looking for matches, and that's maybe interesting. It's not about saying, okay, in the end, 1 or 2 or 3 are the winners in this case. No, it's more about really finding the best matches between your solutions that you're working on and the city partners that are really looking for support and solutions that match their challenges. So that's the important part. And that's also what Dina stressed in the beginning. It's really about this matching. It's about starting dialogues. It's about collaborating and really looking into how those solutions can help the cities to become more circular. That's the first part. And then what can you take from it? First of all, of course, we want to create those connections to our city partners. So hopefully you will get the opportunity to talk at least to one, maybe more, depending on where your solution best matches of the partners. And you can find joint potentials of realizing projects, of implementing new solutions in the cities. Then the second part, of course, you're getting some kind of a visibility through getting to know those over 20 city partners that we have, and of course also the promotion partners that Christoph was just showing some of the logos, and there, just as a hint, we have several incubation partners on board, so that might also be an interesting opportunity for you to just make them get to know you and maybe realize some things together. And the third part is that, of course, as you saw, we have some really cool international partners also on board, like IMF or Circular Economy. And what Circular Economy is offering quite concrete potential is to be featured in their knowledge hub, where they collect a lot of really exciting circular solutions, and you could become part of it. And of course, there are some more things to it, some quite concrete opportunities. For example, here, the finalists of the Circular City Challenge will have the opportunity, so it's not a must, but a can, but you could exhibit your solutions at least in 2 locations, because we have some partnerships here. On the one hand, the Circular Economy Living Lab, which is organized together with the Berlin Stadtmanufaktur. So this will be happening in Berlin. And there's another cooperation upcoming with a shopping center in Vienna, where there's also a potential to really showcase your solutions and reach a broader audience, to get to know the solutions. And what we're also discussing, and that might be also interesting in connection to the promotion partners that we have, there will be the option for, in at least 1 and maybe even 2 incubation programs, to kind of get on their shortlist or pre-final round for their next acceleration programs. So this is kind of the benefits you can take from it. I just want to tell you that this is a project also for us. It's super new, so we're kind of in development, and there might be more opportunities emerging. So just we'll keep you posted. Of course, we're trying to get out the best for all of you in terms of opportunities and support and potentials. So yeah, I would say there might be some reasons to apply. And if you want to apply, then this date is super important to keep in mind. The open call is open until the 1st of April. So until then, you have the chance to hand in your application form. It is on the website, and I guess it might also be posted again here in the chat, the link, just if you haven't seen it yet. So therefore, this is really important to keep that in mind, and do it, hand in your application. And after that, just for you to know what's happening afterwards, we will have an evaluation phase, which is happening directly after we close the call for submission. So within those more or less 2 weeks, the jury will have the chance to do an evaluation and look into all your solutions that you handed in. And there will be a short list of finalists who will be invited to showcase their solutions at a remote pitch day on the 28th of April. So this anyway will be a super important date. So please already block it in your calendars, because there for sure either you will have the chance to show your solutions, or it might also just be interesting for you to join and hear about the solutions. Yeah, and I would say that's it so far. And with that, let's jump into the Q&A session. Feel free to ask any questions that you have. We're here, we're trying to answer all we can. And yeah, either you use the chat, but I would say feel also free to just unmute yourself and ask the questions.
I think it's amazing.
Hi, Andrea. How are you? Sorry, I have a question.
Great.
Would you once again introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Swati Avana from Macquarie University, Sydney, Australia. So my question is that can we apply? I mean, is it eligibility is only for Europe and it's people, or other countries can also apply?
I can pick up on this question. In general, it's open for everyone, but you, of course, need to consider that the implementation solution should be in the locations where we are now. So the question for you, how you can reach this location, how much you can be involved within these locations. But we're open for all applications in this case.
Okay, my question was because researchers are also eligible to apply. So I was thinking in the local context, and then I was assuming that I can apply there. That's okay. Thank you so much.
Welcome. I see that there is a question in the chat from Kristen. Would there be any funding for the finalist projects, and what is the range? We don't have specific funding support. That could be dependent on the project and on the partner and on the match, because some matches or some partners said that if the project is very interesting, they could also support it financially. Others say that yes, the solutions could be done only by the partners itself, so the solution maybe already be so involved that they don't need actually extra funding. Or there could be ways where that's why we have a specific partnerships with incubation programs. And in this case, if the incubation program include you there, then it will be funding provided through the incubation program. So there is no specific lump sum, so to say, to give to the finalists right now, even though they will dig on this deeper, so it could appear as opportunity. But that's 3 options which are there with the financial support.
And while you are reading, I can pick up on the question if the challenge is limited to the presented topics. So these were just examples, just to give you an idea. I mean, you have seen the overview of all the topics we are looking at. So of course, cities may read through, and then they are the jury partners, and they think, wow, we didn't even think we had that challenge. So now that we see it, that's really a good solution we would like to see. So don't let's say if you have a great solution which you think can be implemented in the city, don't get stopped by if you haven't seen it on that on the challenge topics.
And maybe for the context, especially for those of you who are not based in Germany or Austria, you have to know maybe that circular economy as an idea, as a concept, is not only picking up right now, but it's still a pretty new concept idea where especially cities are slowly but surely turning to. Berlin and Munich have surely been on the edge of this evolution, but compared to the Netherlands, for example, Germany and the German-speaking countries are still lagging behind. So there might be, as Andreas just explained, ideas that cities don't even conceive of right now because they don't have the context yet, and your idea might still give them a spark that leads them to say, okay, this is really a good idea, we want to go for it. And this also answers a little bit the question of funding. There might be also an interest of advancing this idea in a one of the specific cities that we address here with the Circular City Challenge. I think that's important for the context.
Yeah, and maybe I will continue with some questions from the chat from Georg Winkel. Wird der Pitch online oder in Präsenz stattfinden? Georg, es wird in online stattfinden, and also for everyone it will be online. So you will not have to travel. The day will be served for online presentations.
And there is a pre-selection happening, as that was another question. So we will look it up because otherwise it will be a too long day for all of us, and it will be very hard to follow through. However, even the ones who aren't pitching on that day may still get a call from someone from the cities who thinks their solution is super interesting for them.
Yeah, I think maybe that's again super important. Like, this challenge is not about having in the end one super cool winner in this case, because we really believe we need a lot of good solutions to solve all those challenges the cities have. So there will be some selection process, of course, but it's not about having a winner in the end. It's really about, if there is an interesting solution that we can match with a concrete challenge, we always go for this option, and just not kicking someone out, saying like, okay, you're not a winner here. I think that's important. And maybe again, we're also like, this is also a project where we are exploring. So we're really trying to find the best formats. We're trying to get the best support that we can find for you. But still, this is kind of evolving. So there might be things coming up in the next weeks. And of course, then we're going to share them with you. So maybe, just keep close and
yeah, I have one private question coming to my chat. That's why I'm gonna read out and also answer. So if we have a scalable solution, will there be opportunities to get a contract from one or more cities? It's a question from Tarun. We will not go with this challenge deadline. We will not go towards contracting or subcontracting. Because this will be a part where maybe one of the individual partners will decide how to proceed with that. So it might be taking time in the topic of implementation, but we will obviously look if you are interested with several locations. So and there will be several matches for several locations, so that possibility to work with several cities is there. It's just a question if the partners also will be interested toward this co-working lot, so to say. Tarun, I hope I could answer this question, which you asked. If no, maybe you can unmute yourself and tell it.
Yeah, thank you, Dina. I got your answer. Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay, and I see the question from Laura. Is it possible to apply for several topics with one application? I think that depends a little bit. So if you mix totally different solutions in one application, it will be maybe harder. So then go to a separate solution. But if that one solution is on the one hand something which helps on resource management and also creates system infrastructure, and something on the on the awareness, yeah, then you can of course put it in one application. So if it's one solution, it should be one application. If it's more solutions, then there should be separate applications.
Exactly. Even if you are applying from one entity, so but if you address in two different solutions or two different problems, then it should be two different applications. I also have a question here. Who will be the main applicant? Can I be the main applicant from the university in the UK? So we strive for applicants who more than one person, and shouldn't be. So we accept a quite big range of applicants. However, not applicants from individuals. So if you are some heuristic entity, then you can apply, but if you're an individual, then it will be maybe a challenge to apply for this challenge.
But Dina, I guess the question is more targeted towards, can I be the main applicant from a university in the UK? Yes, it's okay. This was just outlined. We accept challenges from everywhere in the world. You only have to keep in mind it is for cities in German-speaking countries and targeted towards there. Was this your question, Sultana? Or did this answer your question, or two answers?
Yeah, thank you. I was just thinking, yeah, if I can apply from the UK, but as it is a group application, so how will I find the partner? Is there any way to match my idea before I apply?
No, if you have to have already partner consortium. So we don't have a matches with other partners who might apply. It should be from your side already existing consortium.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Well, maybe as in university context, consortium may seem kind of a formal, EU project consortium. So it can be a group of people who work together. So you don't need to have a kind of a contract as a consortium in that case. No.
Exactly. So it's not about legal consortium contract, but it has to be existing working partners together.
Okay, thank you.
There is a question from Juliana. Are there any guidelines for applicant, for example, formats, written presentation, PDF, film? The guidelines are quite simple. So there is application form on the website, which you need to go through. In general, there is mostly text which you need to fill in this application form. It's in the type form, and there is opportunity to upload either presentation or even Word file or PDF file. So there is no specific needs, but there is limitations on the size of this file. There is no film or video which you has to upload, but there are some questions which you will have to answer, and I think in total it shouldn't take quite a lot of time. So we try actually to keep also the threshold for applicants quite low in terms of that you don't spend a lot of time on the submissions. I don't know, do we right now cover all questions in the chat, or we missed some questions? If we missed some questions, maybe you can unmute yourself and ask it.
Hello, this is Tarun again from World Around Me GmbH in Berlin. Just a question, is it better to apply in German? Because the authorities are all, they speak German, so is it a good idea to prefer that over English?
In general, it's possible to do in both languages, so you can do it in German as well. And at the end, we will have a pitch session. Of course, our partners, it's German-speaking partners right now, so we will try to structure mainly which are presentation possible to do in German, and then to see who cannot do it in German, so that there will be opportunity for them. But the final pitch session preferably will be mostly in German. With opportunity for those who completely don't know the language, then they can actually do it in English.
Okay, ich habe gelernt seit letzten 2 Jahren, dann würde ich probieren, auf Deutsch zu.
Sehr schön. we still have some time for questions.
It seems like all the questions in the chat have been answered. So if anyone has any other questions, to go ahead and ask them.
Just maybe general statement. The presentations will be shared. So the presentation also from both guests today and our presentation will be shared. And also the video recording will be shared afterwards. Maybe give us some time to do that. But it will be all shared with you. Give 10 seconds more for maybe some last questions, if you just urgently come up right now with something. All right, seems like, how can I get contact of today's guests? Guests, if you are, don't mind, can we share your contact details, or you think it's not a good idea? Please answer to us.
I think at least Shorty already shared it in his presentation, so there would be the option to get it definitely. Perfect. And
Josh just shared the contact in the chat. But yes, I guess you're gonna get the presentations, and I think it will be also then in presentations, the contact details. And also from our side, because I also wanted to share that as a last slide, maybe. We have four organizational partners, as I mentioned, and obviously you can contact each of them in case of any questions. So if you have very specific questions in the München or Stuttgart or Vienna, or also in Berlin, towards maybe who are the juries or how it can be applied for a specific city. If you have general question in terms of application process, or also like just some misunderstanding or something what you would like to dig further, you can always write to me. Here's my contact. So feel free that, and we're gonna at least until the end of application, we will make sure that we will answer to you. That's all fine. And maybe on the very final notice, I also wanted to highlight that as we are 4 organizations, but we are doing it completely voluntary for all of you and for our partners. So I do hope that it will be very inspiring project for all of us, because it's a lot of also work, which we also like. We are doing it with a lot of inspiration and a lot of interest also from perspective how it will develop and how we can go for this implementation. That's why I hope we all find this opportunity and this work as a good cooperation further. And on that stage, if there is no more questions, I think we're about to end our event for today. Good to know that you left this event with inspiration. I will stop now recording.